It was a Thursday night in late October. I had just finished a study group off campus and didn't feel like walking 30 minutes across town in the cold. It was almost 11:40 p.m. The air was biting and my backpack felt heavier than usual. I ordered an Uber like I always did. My dorm was about a 10-minute ride from where I was, and I'd taken the trip a dozen times before without a problem. The driver's name was Eric, profile picture just a blurry shot of a dashboard, but he had a 4.9 rating and over 2,000 trips. The car that pulled up was a black Honda Civic, with tinted windows and a temporary plate in the back window. The license plate matched, so I got in. The driver didn't say a word. No hello, no how's your night? Just started driving. He wore a hooded sweatshirt pulled up high, and I couldn't see much of his face. The car was cold. Not like it hasn't warmed up yet cold. More like the AC was on low, recirculating stale air. The smell inside was strange too, like something metallic just faint enough to be ignored. At first I brushed it off. I wasn't in the mood to chat either, and drivers who keep to themselves aren't uncommon. I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to my roommate. On my way. Be there in 10. Then I opened TikTok to zone out until we got back. But about 3 minutes into the drive, something felt off. I looked up. The route on the driver's GPS didn't match what was on my app. His phone was mounted to the dash, but it wasn't showing a live map. It looked like a recording. At first, I thought maybe it was just lag, or maybe I was misreading it. But then he made a left turn when both my app and his supposed map showed a right. Hey, I said casually. I think you missed the turn back there. He didn't answer. Excuse me? Nothing. His hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel, but he didn't look at me, didn't speak. That's when I leaned forward and got a better look at the screen. It was definitely a video, a screen recording of a previous trip to my dorm. Same start and end point, same map, but it was just looping. No actual GPS data. My stomach dropped. I looked at my app. The trip still showed waiting for pickup. He'd never started the ride. I tried the door handle. Locked. The window button, dead. I said louder, let me out now. Still nothing. The streetlights started thinning out. We were no longer in a residential area. Trees lined both sides of the road. I recognized where we were going. A service road near the woods behind campus. There were no houses out here. No businesses. Just darkness and old maintenance trails. Stop the car, I demanded. Still nothing. That's when he finally spoke. His voice was low, distant, like someone trying to sound calm but not quite human.
You shouldn't have looked at the screen.
Every instinct in my body screamed to get out. I searched for the child lock mechanism. Thank God I had read about it before. I reached down, popped the latch, and without thinking twice, I slammed my shoulder into the door. It swung open just enough for me to squeeze out. The car was still moving, maybe 20-25 meters, but I didn't care. I hit the pavement, rolled into the dirt, and scrambled to my feet. My knee was bleeding, my elbow scraped raw, but I was running. I didn't look back. I heard the car stop. Reverse lights flickered. But then, after a moment, the engine revved and it sped off into the trees. I ran until I reached the nearest gas station, out of breath and shaking. The clerk looked terrified when I stumbled in and asked to use the phone. I called the police and told them everything. They found nothing. The car was gone. The license plate was registered to a rental that had been reported stolen a day earlier. The Uber account? A fake. The profile photo was a stock image. The real Eric never existed. Campus security got involved. They issued warnings. For a week, police cars patrolled the area near the woods. 3 days later, I received a text from an unknown number. No words, just a photo. It was a picture of me, walking into the dorm the night it happened. Taken from a distance, probably from the trees, the angle. It was watching me. I changed my phone number, deleted all rideshare apps. I walk home now, even if it takes me an hour. The worst part? I never saw his face, not clearly, but sometimes I wonder if he saw mine long before I ever opened that app. And some nights, especially when it's quiet, I hear a car idle outside for a few minutes before driving away, just long enough to remind me I was never supposed to get away. Driving for a rideshare app at night isn't for everyone. But for me, the quiet hours after midnight were the perfect time to clear my head. I worked a boring desk job during the day, and driving around my small city in Ohio at night made me feel a little more alive, less trapped. The streets were always empty by 2 a.m., just me, gas station lights, and the occasional guy stumbling out of a bar. You meet some weird people, sure, but most were harmless. The drunk girl crying about her ex, the silent guy with earbuds, the old lady who made me wait while she found her cat. But that one night was different. It started with a trip request that never came. It was 2:57 a.m. I had just dropped off a couple near a 24-hour diner, parked a few blocks down, and was sipping cold coffee from a gas station when I noticed him. A man in a gray hoodie, standing on the corner near 7th and Maple. He wasn't moving, just standing there like he was waiting for someone. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Maybe he was waiting for a friend, maybe another driver. But then he looked directly at me. His face wasn't lit by the streetlight, but something about his posture made me feel like I was being summoned. I checked the app. No new ride requests. He took one slow step off the curb, then another, and began walking toward my car. Now, most drivers would have just locked their doors and driven away. But I'd had people wave me down before when their app glitched. I cracked my window. "You call an Uber?" I asked. The man nodded slowly. "Yeah, you're here for James, right?" The name matched the last rider I dropped off, James and his girlfriend, who'd already gotten out 10 minutes ago. Weird, but I was tired, and something about his voice sounded normal, tired even. I unlocked the door. He slid into the back seat, didn't say another word, just sat there, eyes forward like he was used to silence. Started driving, half waiting for a destination to show up on my app, but nothing came. Still blank. "Where you headed?" I asked, glancing at the mirror. "Just straight for now." That was the first red flag. I should have stopped, but I didn't. I figured maybe his phone had died. I've dealt with it before. Usually they ask to use the charger, then give me directions. Not this guy. We drove in silence for nearly 10 minutes. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by empty roads and open fields. I realized we were heading out toward the old industrial park, long abandoned. "You sure this is right?" I asked. He didn't respond. I looked in the mirror again. He was gone. The seat was empty. I slammed the brakes. My heart nearly exploded out of my chest. I turned around fully. Nothing, just an impression in the seat cushion, where someone had definitely been sitting. I jumped out of the car, opened the back door. Still nothing. No one around, just the sound of distant power lines buzzing in the dark. I stood there for a good 30 seconds trying to make sense of it. Had I imagined it? Was I hallucinating from being overtired? I got back in the car, turned around, and decided I was done for the night. As I pulled onto the main road, my phone buzzed. A new trip request. I glanced down. "Pick up James." The same name, same location, 7th and Maple. I hit decline and nearly threw my phone across the car. Then the radio turned on by itself. White noise, like dead air static. And beneath it, something else. A whisper. "Keep driving." I reached for the power button. The radio wouldn't turn off. I shut off the whole ignition. The radio still played. No lights, no engine, just the whispering static. Then, from the rearview mirror, I saw a hand press against the inside of the rear window. Long fingers, pale skin, fingernails far too long to be human. I didn't look back, I floored it. The radio cut off. The car came back to life like nothing happened. Lights on, music normal, the back seat empty again. I made it home in record time, slammed the door to my apartment, and turned every light on. I checked my trip history. No rider, no James, nothing logged after 2:45 a.m. I emailed support the next day. They said there was no technical error. They said it was impossible for someone to enter my car without a confirmed trip. They asked if I'd been sharing my account. I hadn't. A week later, I saw a post on the local Reddit board. "Anyone else see the guy at 7th and Maple? Gray hoodie, no face." The comments were full of people who had similar stories. Some saw him walking toward their car. Some saw him in their back seat when they looked up. One said they drove him out past the factories too, and crashed when they looked away. They never saw him leave the vehicle. Every story ended the same way. No trace, no app record, just the name James. Last night I started driving again. New phone, new account, I avoid that part of town now. But tonight, just before 3 a.m., I got a request. Pick up James. And I swear, the door behind me just unlocked on its own. Driving Uber in a small town outside Denver has its perks. Quiet nights, mostly friendly passengers, and barely any traffic after midnight. I picked it up as a side gig after getting laid off from my day job. At first it felt freeing. The open road, just me, some late-night radio, and the occasional bar hopper or early airport run. But one night changed the way I feel behind the wheel forever. It started around 1:40 a.m. on a Wednesday. I was about to call it quits when a ride request popped up. Pickup, Southbridge Avenue. Destination Canyon Ridge Apartments, about 15 minutes west. The name on the request was Lila. The pin dropped near a quiet intersection not far from an old high school. I pulled up and saw her almost immediately, standing near a busted streetlight. Alone. She had shoulder-length dark hair, wore a maroon hoodie and jeans, and held her phone in both hands. She didn't wave or say anything, just quietly opened the back door and slid in. "Lila?" I asked. She nodded, then said, "Yeah, thanks for coming." Her voice was soft, almost hoarse, like she'd been crying. Didn't want to pry, but the silence that followed was heavy. We pulled away from Southbridge and got onto the main road. After a couple of minutes, I glanced at the rearview mirror. She was staring straight ahead, hands still in her lap, face pale in the soft blue glow of her phone. I tried small talk. "Long night?" She nodded again. "Just trying to get home." Her voice was distant, distracted. A few more minutes passed, and I noticed something strange on the GPS. The route wasn't moving. My dot was frozen in place. I tapped the screen. It flickered, then reset. When it came back, the pickup location had changed to unknown, and the destination address was just a blank field. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Do you mind confirming the address? My GPS is acting up." She didn't respond. I glanced at the mirror again. She was gone. The back seat was empty. I slammed the brakes in the middle of an empty road and whipped around. Nothing. The door hadn't opened. No sound, no weight shift. She was just gone. I got out of the car, heart hammering in my chest, and checked the back seat. No one. I stood there in the dead silence of that street, under buzzing street lamps and swaying trees, trying to understand what had just happened. The night felt suddenly colder, like the air itself had changed. I got back in the car and checked the trip history. No record of a passenger. The name Lila wasn't anywhere. No fare, no route, no GPS log, nothing. I sat there for 5 minutes, staring at the app, the road, the rearview mirror. And then my phone buzzed again. New request, pick up at Canyon Ridge Apartments. The same destination. The name? Lila. I didn't accept. I couldn't. I watched the countdown expire as my hands trembled. Drove home with all the lights on in the car. No music. No silence either. I cracked the windows just so I could hear the world around me. Anything to know I was still in reality. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I told myself maybe she got out and I didn't hear it. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe my brain just couldn't handle being that tired. But later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I drove to Canyon Ridge Apartments. I parked across the street, engine idling, just watching. After 10 minutes, a man walked out of one of the units. Late 40s, pajamas, looked half asleep. I flagged him down and asked if he knew a girl named Lila. His face turned pale, like white pale. "You picked her up?" I nodded slowly. He rubbed his face with one hand. "Lila was my daughter," he said. "She died 2 years ago, hit by a drunk driver near Southbridge Avenue. She used to take Ubers home from school when I couldn't pick her up." My stomach twisted. "She always wore a maroon hoodie," he added. "Her phone was found in the street." I couldn't respond. He looked me straight in the eye. "You're not the first driver to come asking. To this day, I've never driven the night shift again. Sometimes when I check my phone late at night, I still see her name pop up, Lila, with that same address, Canyon Ridge. And every time I pass Southbridge Avenue, I can't help but glance at the sidewalk, wondering if she's still trying to get home." I'd taken hundreds of Ubers in my life, after late night classes, after shifts at the diner, after dates that went nowhere. So when I called one at 2:48 a.m., I didn't think twice. My phone buzzed. Driver, Daniel, silver Toyota Camry, 4.9 stars. 8 to 3 minutes. Dark-tinted windows, clean, almost too clean. The driver leaned over and smiled. Jess? I nodded. Yep, 623 Willow Grove. He didn't say anything, just tapped his phone and started driving. It was quiet, no music. The windows slightly fogged from the cold. The only sound was the gentle hum of tires on pavement. We drove past familiar streets until we didn't. After 10 minutes, I realized something was off. Willow Grove was west. We were going east. I checked the app. The GPS hadn't updated. The line on the screen was still heading home, but we weren't following it. I think we're going the wrong way, I said. The driver didn't respond. I spoke louder. Excuse me? You missed the turn. Still nothing. I leaned forward. His face was stiff, expressionless, eyes locked on the road like he was in a trance. Let me out, I said, trying to stay calm. No reaction. I tapped the door, locked. Hey, let me out of this car! The car kept driving. Into darker streets. Streetlights vanished. Trees replaced houses. My signal dropped to no service. That's when I noticed something chilling. The driver's hands never moved. Not once, no turns. No corrections. Just stiff, locked at 10 and 2. It was like he wasn't driving. Like the car was moving itself. I started banging on the window. Let me out! Then he finally spoke.
Almost home.
His voice wasn't normal. It was flat, lifeless, like a recording played through an old cassette. The road narrowed. Gravel replaced pavement. The forest pressed in closer, branches scraping the sides of the car. My breath fogged the window as I looked out. And that's when I saw it. A house barely standing. Rotting wood. No lights, just waiting. The car stopped. You're home, he said. The doors unlocked with a soft click. I didn't move. Then slowly he turned his head to face me. His eyes were too wide, lips curled into a grin that didn't reach his eyes. I said, you're home. I bolted. I don't know how, but the moment I jumped out, the world around me shifted. Like I'd stepped out of a dream, or into one. The house was gone, so was the car. I was standing in the middle of the road, alone in the cold. I ran. Found a diner still open, breathless, incoherent. The waitress let me use the phone. I called the police. They traced my phone location. I was 14 miles from Willow Grove, in the middle of nowhere. They picked me up. I filed a report, but when they tried to trace the ride, there was no ride logged. Uber said the trip was canceled before it ever started. No Danielle. No silver Camry, no record. They called it a glitch. I knew better. I changed my number, got a car, swore never to use rideshare again. Weeks passed. Then one morning I found something in my mailbox. No stamp, no handwriting. Just a single sheet of paper. We're not done. You haven't come home yet. I haven't slept since. Because some nights, around 3 a.m., I hear a car idling outside my apartment. And in my dreams, I keep arriving at that same decaying house, door swinging open. Waiting,